Okay, so I'm going to talk right now about why it is so important to prevent these online scams from even happening. Because once these online romance scams happen, I mean, it's too late. It's too late. The emotional toll from these happening to people is so traumatic. One of the first things that inspired me to, try to make a difference was I went on support groups and looked up online romance scams. And I mean, these men and women, 2-3 years later, are regularly going onto the social media and going onto these support groups. Some of them are still tracking their scammer's alias online. I mean, this is like 3 years later. They're still on almost sometimes some even a daily basis. These scams devastate people. They devastate families. If it's involving an affair, it's the whole family that gets devastated. You get people who are elderly. Well, it could be anyone. It doesn't even have to be. But let's say there's an elderly woman or man, and they're widowed, and they thought they were loaning someone money, but it turns out they just sent their life savings, thinking they were loaning it, to a predator who took it. And now they are facing their grandchildren, children, and they had thought that they had this nest egg that they were so excited to pass on to their family, and now it's gone. They don't have it. And it devastates the whole family. You see, it's not just these crimes. The emotional toll is always going to be more than the financial toll, even the biggest amount of toll. I mean, it just adds to the shame that you gave all that money, the horrible feeling that you can't recover that money back. But I would argue that when it comes to law enforcement looking at what they're going to crack down on, that oftentimes cybercrime that is related to corporate cybercrime gets the attention because it's higher dollar value crimes. The blackmail, things of that nature with corporate, it takes the front because it's the dollar amount, right? It's more dollars. But really, to start really taking more seriously the online scam prevention, the romance scams, it's really important to start looking at the emotional toll. Because, per scam, the emotional toll is going to be far greater than the emotional toll it would take for a corporate cyber scam. So looking at this here, the emotional toll, I'm sort of doing a conversation about both the affair or not an affair, right? So for men, their manhood, they feel a big loss of manhood, the shame, the financial loss. There's a lot of wreckage. I mean, most of these scams go unreported because people are just so ashamed of themselves. They feel so stupid. They can't believe it, Even people will find that, teenage boys have this unfortunate thing that happens where sometimes, a lot of people this happens to, but teenage boys will find out, by the time their scam's done, that they were actually talking to a dude. Can you imagine how they feel, the shame and humiliation? They think they just met the hottest girl they've ever seen in their life, and maybe they're sending pictures, maybe they're giving her money, and they find out that it's a dude. And then they have to go through the rest of their high school trying to pick up those pieces if they even are okay with telling anyone. You can just imagine for manhood, for a teenage boy, how that would impact their life. It's not the money that they sent. It's like their self-esteem. They're devastated, if they will even tell you what happened to them. And there's suicides that happen because of this too. Teenage boys commit suicide. This is not uncommon at all. Now, when you have the emotional toll of sextortion, if it's through an affair, I mean, it sounds harsh, but can you really reattach a man's balls after they just received an email containing images and content of their wife in compromising situations or position or whatever that they've never seen their own wife in before? I mean, can you really say that they reattach their balls as soon as they send money off to that dude, when they press send and are sending money to that dude? How long do you think it takes a man to recover his sense of manhood after seeing that and after ending up sending money to a man who just sent him footage of his wife in things he's never seen before? I mean, is it really about the money or what is the emotional toll like for a man? I'm not a man, I don't know, but I can't imagine that things start healing anytime soon. Then you have women, too. Both people, shame, humiliation, grief, the wreckage. For me, what was frustrating was that my predator I loaned him $7,000. It wasn't, here's $7,000, right? And, for the man, when the man sends the money, it's the man's loss of money. He just lost the money. But the truth that gets ignored is it's also the woman lost money too in these scams. I mean, she gave money. It was a loan. And even though it seems like shame on her, but she has experiences of financial loss too on top of it. In fact, there's a lot of emotions the woman's not allowed to feel or express that she goes through too. And that's what's so frustrating about society today, that we can't understand that these crimes are done to entire families. They have to be broken apart. They happen to entire families. So definitely people commit suicide after these crimes. I think one of the reasons is that they're coming down from the endorphins that they're getting from getting the charming and the text. So they're having almost like an antidepressant withdrawal. I think that contributes to their suicidal feelings. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to ruminate on what happened, and then you deal with the financial loss and all of that. So sometimes with the affair ones, I say if the wife is lucky enough that her husband finds out about the affair. And I mean it, because I just feel for the ones that commit suicide because, the predator doesn't actually end up hitting up the husband. He just taunts the woman. She's driving in her car on her way to pick up her kids, and she gets a text from that man again, give me this much money, or I'm going to tell your husband. And then next thing you know, she's running to the ATM and no one knows but her, and she's isolated and alone. And women in those kind of situations, it's not hard to imagine them committing suicide because they just can't deal with what happened and what they did. And you find out that this person who pretended to care about your life and wanted you to tell you everything never even cared to begin with. And that's also a huge emotional toll on a person after they're done. And this happens to men too. I'm kind of speaking about different areas of these scams, but I mean, these men who fall in love with women, I'm saying not affair, on the internet, are sending the money. It's the emotional. You just entrusted this person with they got you to share every little detail about your life. And you find out later they actually didn't care about any of those things or you. And so that's extremely devastating. Anyone who goes through these scams has some level of trauma afterwards. And I think we can agree, because I'm talking about preventing or intercepting. I'm saying once these things have happened, it's too late. The emotional toll is done. You can recover the money back, but the money is usually the small piece. And so the only way to really start attacking this and prioritizing it when we're looking at what corporate cybercrime is and dollar amounts, it's never going to compete. These online romance scams or these scams, the financial losses are never going to be able to compete. But the emotional toll, if we start caring more about the emotions and what the devastation is to people, then I think we can start to justify, starting to prioritize them more. And then I'm going to go into the macroeconomics in a minute, which I think is something that law enforcement and our governments should start considering so that they can start prioritizing these more, because they really devastate. They destroy families. Let's see here. The wreckage, there's grief. Oh, the grief. The woman goes through grief. She can't believe she just had an affair. I mean, it depends. I mean, if she'd had an affair before, no matter whatever her history was, if she had a history of doing photos of herself, had a history of affairs, from law enforcement perspective, it doesn't matter. When they had a crime happen and they report when it happened, and that's what you can see, then that is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the crime, But a lot of times, the woman didn't have an affair before, which is advantageous for the criminal, because they can control the narrative of what an affair entails and add things in. The woman also has grief that she just had an affair, and then the husband, he just had to send money to a man. I mean, who knows his manhood? I can only imagine what he's going through. And then in terms of the women, it's kind of this silent grief that they're not really allowed to talk about, which is, can you really undo the naked content that you just took and sent? That your spouse, no, you can't. Can you undo an affair that you just had? No. Can the man reattach his balls right after he just sent thousands of dollars in blackmail and just to a man who got his wife to do all these compromising things? No, it's too late. Once it's happened, it's too late. The emotional toll it's done, and it exceeds the money. I mean, seriously, the money is minor compared to the emotional damage at that point. Although people can ruminate about the money loss, and that can really just add to the shame, humiliation, and depression. Okay, so here is the part where I try to convince you, whoever, government, law enforcement, why we should start to care more about the economics as a, kind of ROI reason to maybe encourage people to also start prioritizing the individual scams, or adding more, resources to bring justice for them. Because like I said, the corporate crimes, those cyber crimes take precedence right now because there's so much cybercrime, and it's about the dollar losses there. That's what makes the ROI seem better. But really, if we're looking at the emotional toll, So from a macroeconomic perspective, a lot of this money, like for me, the $7,000 was a loan, supposed to be a loan. It wasn't money that I gave him that he could have. It was quote unquote loan, right? So one of the huge issues here, especially since America, we live in a wealthier nation, right? And you've got all these connected spenders in places like Indonesia, Nigeria, Pakistan. All these people are getting online for the first time, right? So you've got all these people getting online for the first time, and yet their environment around them, their economy, they don't have opportunity. They don't have jobs. They don't have economic, advantages. And some of them don't even operate using currency, and suddenly they're on the internet, right? So you're going to get a lot of people that want to do more cybercrime. They're just starting out. They don't have economic opportunities. Well, who are they going to try to exploit? Wealthier nations, right? To take their money. So think about this. We've got people who are think they're loaning money, and they're sending money out of the country, out of America, out of our country, out of our economy, and it's not coming back. They think they're loaning money, but it's not coming back. So we've got money just straight up leaving our economies, our countries, that we're not getting back. So those are losses that we need to recover. That matters, right? That's our economy. We need to start prioritizing recapturing those funds, right? And also, another thing is about sending a message around the world to people getting online for the first time. Hey, you might be getting online for the first time and you might be itching for some economic opportunity, but if you're gonna pick on someone, don't let it be America. Don't be looking for our money. Not gonna happen, buddy. Anyway, another problem that we have here, which is frustrating, we wanna encourage people in this country to save for retirement. We want to encourage them to have life savings. It's a good thing for them to have, financial responsibilities. Not that it's someone's fault per se if they don't have that opportunity, but in general, what's happening is they're punishing people who've done financial planning. They're taking money from people who have saved their money, saved for retirement, been responsible about that. We have Social Security that we pay out to people who are retiring, and these people have done their part in as many ways as they, in ways where they have tangible money left. And here they're giving it away. It's gone. And we're basically, they're being punished for saving for retirement and doing the things that actually ease the burden on our country financially. That's not right at all. Like I said here, the emotional toll far exceeds the financial. Corporate cybercrime the financial will be massive, but these people aren't going to come home with their balls unattached. I'm sorry if it sounds awful, but think about how a man would feel if something came in his email of his wife in images or disturbing a video or something he's never seen her do before, and a dude sent it to him. And it's so bad that he just finds himself pressing send to send money to some dude about that. Can you imagine to his manhood? Do you think it's about the dollars, or do you think that it's too late? It's too late, right? I don't know what that process of healing, it's tough. The emotional devastation, the economy, you want things, we want money leaving our country, so we really need to prioritize understanding how it affects people emotionally, because the dollar losses are never going to be, it's never going to be, it can't compete with the corporate cybercrime dollars. So we really have to take a stand and say, okay, we're going to care about people and families, right? References, I think if people are not quite sure if I'm legit here, you just check the romance scam support groups. The life-altering devastation is unreal. And what was really sad to me is a lot of the men and women on there said nothing can be done. They said, nothing can be done. My guy's been still going for 2 years. I try to tell the other women, they don't listen. And I just remember getting so infuriated and thinking, what do you mean nothing can be done? And they just, nothing can be done. I was like, but hell no, that can't be. Something has to be done. Someone has to do something. And obviously it got got bigger than I ever could have anticipated. I don't think anyone can anticipate my predator, but yeah, I have yet to know someone who's anticipated him. But anyway, that's a side note. That's too much about me. I think we need to really start thinking about encouraging people and not shaming them to come forward, because that's the best way we're going to track it, and also just understanding this emotional toll is so bad that we just can't afford to ignore it if the financial losses aren't as bad as the corporate cybercrime, because it destroys families. People lose money. Money goes out of our economy that we're not going to recover. We need to capture that. And I think with all these connected spenders, I think it was like 2.5 billion people were getting online for the first time. This was back in I read this back in 2018 or something. By 2025, 2.5 billion from people who often live in areas where there's not a lot of economic opportunity. Who do you think they're going to pick on? So I think now would be a great time to send a message just saying, if you're thinking about, dabbling in cybercrime, don't you dare come to America. Don't you dare.